Welcome back to the Y.E.S Longevity Podcast, where we give you insight on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. Thanks for coming on board and watching us today. I got a few things for housekeeping for you. First, we are halfway through with our New Year, New You challenge or competition. For those who are watching, remember that your next in-body scan, your mid-in-body scan, which is required for the contest, occurs between the beginning of business this Wednesday, which is the 6th, and the end of business on Friday, which is the 8th. You need to get your in-body scan in during that time frame. It's been a very competitive contest. Everybody's been working out 4 or 5, some people 6 days a week. The food journals will be looking great. I'm expecting some great results. We are in the final week of our Fit in 42. Some amazing results. I will update you with those results next week as the participants finish up their 6-week journey, the transformation of their lives. We've seen some tremendous changes in their exercise habits, sleeping habits, nutrition, what they eat, their hydration, all kinds of stuff. So I will update you on that next week. And finally, I need to solve our sign. We have a special fundraising class going on this Saturday at 7:30. It is replacing all our classes on Saturday. It is to support Ben Fogel, a good friend of mine. He has a very rare blood cancer disease. So we're trying to raise some money for him to become the Man of the Year in Utah. It's for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. You do not need to participate to make a donation. Give us a call or check us out on our Facebook page. You can see all the information on our post. And you do not need to make a donation to participate in the special class. So either way, we'd love to see you down here working out, getting a workout in, and supporting just a fantastic cause. So what we'd like to talk to you about today is how nutrition affects our longevity, how what we eat affects our health and our telomere length. So to review what a telomere is, a telomere is a protective piece on the end of each of our DNA, similar to the aglet or the protective piece on the end of your shoelace. As that piece gets smaller and smaller, eventually allows the DNA or your shoelace to fray, and the cell, in essence, senesces or dies or can no longer function the way it's made to function. And when we're born, when we're conceived, we have about 15,000 base pairs. That's the length of a telomere. Once we're born, we're down to about 10,000 base pairs. And as we go through life, those base pairs get smaller and smaller and smaller. So we want to do everything that we can in our lifestyle to be able to maintain our telomere length or even grow our telomere length. So there are 3 areas that affect our cells. There are cellular enemies, you would say. We can either eat foods to fight our enemies, or we can eat foods to be on the same side as our enemies. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're fighting them, and we shift our cell environment to be one that is healthy for our telomere length and for our chances for living a long and healthy life. So those 3 areas are inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistance. So let's start off by talking about inflammation. Inflammation plays a vital role in the process of aging. Inflammation and telomeres share a destructive relationship. One makes the other one worse. Aging cells, ones with the shorter telomeres or unrepaired DNA, send out pro-inflammatory signals that cause the immune system to turn on itself. It's damaging tissues all over the body. So the inflammation can cause immune cells to divide and replicate, which shorten telomeres even more. It's a vicious cycle. So they work hand in hand here. So you really want to try to stay away from inflammation. So another way that inflammation attacks our telomeres is through glucose absorbed from foods such as French fries, refined carbohydrates, white rice, sugary candies, soda, juices. This stuff hits the bloodstream really hard and really fast. That uptick of blood glucose from these foods causes an increase of cytokine, which are inflammatory messengers. These foods are found in a typical Western diet, the diet that we typically eat here in America. So obviously, these are foods that we want to stay away from. Alcohol. Alcohol acts as a carbohydrate. When we have too much alcohol consumed, C-reactive protein increases. And C-reactive protein is a substance produced by the liver, and it raises when there's more inflammation in the body. So another reason why we probably stay away from too much alcohol, although some alcohol is good for longevity. For example, 4 ounces of wine per day. Too much alcohol inflames the body and can cause our telomeres to shorten. So what can we do about this? How can we fight this effect of inflammation in our body? So omega-3s and omega-6, they work together to balance the inflammation in our body. Omega-3 is an anti-inflammatory, whereas omega-6 is the inflammatory. As anti-inflammatory molecules, omega-3 reduces inflammation and oxidative stress, and by doing so, omega-3 protects our telomere lengths. So here are some foods that are high in omega-3s. Nuts, seeds, some fatty fish, they all can help protect our telomere length. And on the other end of the spectrum, these are foods that are high in omega-6. You can probably guess what they are. They're packaged and processed foods, crackers, cookies, chips, fried foods. All these foods shorten our telomeres. So again, these are foods that we want to try to avoid. Many of the foods that we find in our diet here in America. So that's a little bit of a summation of inflammation and how that affects your telomeres and the foods that you want to have and the foods that you want to try to avoid. So let's take a little look now at oxidative stress. So what oxidative stress is, it's an imbalance between your free radicals and your antioxidants in your body. So free radicals are oxygen-containing molecules with an uneven number of electrons. The uneven number allows them to easily react with other molecules, causing stress. So oxidative stress reduces telomeres and reduces telomerase. Telomerase is something that your body can produce to replenish shortened telomeres. So oxidative stress is a terrible thing. It's a double whammy. Not only does it shorten a telomere, but it also reduces telomerases in the body. So a few factors that increase oxidative stress, or I should say a few foods and factors actually, are fried foods, alcohol, tobacco, smoking, inhaling pesticides, and air pollutants. All these things are things that we want to stay away from to help reduce oxidative stress. But another way to reduce oxidative stress is through antioxidants. So we've all heard about antioxidants. Antioxidants like vitamin C and E are like scavengers. They gobble up all those free radicals, preventing them from harming and damaging the body's cells. Now, studies show that blood levels with high levels of vitamin C and E have larger telomeres. So we want to make sure that we're getting antioxidants in our system. So some foods that are high in antioxidants and help fight free radicals would be some foods that have beta carotene in them, lycopene, lutein, which the foods include things like broccoli, alfalfa sprouts, Brussels sprouts, carrots, collard greens, corn and mango and tomatoes. You got fruits like apples and cantaloupe, cherries, grapefruit, kiwi, papaya, red grapes, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries. All these things are foods that can help fight the free radicals, all antioxidants. Obviously, foods that we want to have in our diet on a very frequent basis. You're not going to have all those foods every single day, but you want to get a nice variety of those foods into your diet on a daily basis. So there's some examples, some other foods that are high in antioxidants. You got things that are more like onions and eggplant. Let's see, lettuce, turnips, greens, pears, red wine again, parsley, citrus fruits, again, berries, cherries, plums, legumes, soybeans, milk, cheese, tofu, all foods that you want to try to get into your diet on a consistent basis. So that's a lot of foods, but those are all foods that we already know that we know those foods are good for us. We know we should be eating those foods. Those are foods we want to eat at the most natural state, not something that we typically get in an American diet. Some real superfoods that we have are things like plums and prunes and raisins, blueberries, cranberries, figs, oranges, pomegranates, some sweet bell peppers, maybe beets and kale, spinach, and dark chocolate. Of course, dark chocolate. But in any case, you want to try to get as many of these foods into your diet on a consistent basis. That will help with your telomere length, fighting free radicals, and giving us a better chance to live a long, healthy life. So the final area you want to take a look at is insulin resistance. First, what is insulin resistance? To make sure that we understand what insulin resistance is. Insulin resistance is the diminishing ability of the cells to respond to the action of insulin in transporting glucose, that's sugar, from our bloodstream into the muscles and other tissues. So when our foods break down, it gets broken down into glucose. It's in our blood. It needs to be brought into the muscles and the tissues of our body. It typically develops with obesity and is heralded as the onset of type 2 diabetes. So this is what happens. It's as if insulin is knocking on the door of the muscles. Okay, knock, 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 let me in. The muscle hears a knock. It opens up and lets in the glucose. But with insulin resistance, the muscles cannot hear the knocking of the insulin on the muscle. And muscle is resisting to opening the door to allowing the glucose to enter. So what happens is the pancreas then makes more insulin, which increases the insulin level in the blood and causes a louder knock on the muscle. Knock, knock, knock. Eventually, the pancreas produces more insulin than normal, and then the muscles will continue to hear the knock and allow the glucose into the muscle. As long as the liver produces enough insulin to overcome the resistance, blood glucose levels will remain normal. Once the pancreas is no longer able to keep up, blood glucose starts to rise, initially right after meals, and eventually even in a fasting state. So we just have more glucose sitting in our bloodstream. What happens? Once the glucose builds up in the bloodstream, the liver starts to turn the excess glucose into fat. Vicious cycle. We now have fat. We're heavier. Insulin resistance. We get heavier and heavier and heavier. Next thing you know, we have type 2 diabetes. So a number of studies have been shown that telomere length is inversely associated with insulin resistance in type 2 diabetes. So what that means is as the telomere gets shorter, then you're more likely to get insulin resistance in type 2 diabetes. So what are some things that we can do to stop this vicious cycle? We want to try to make sure that we don't get heavy. So we want to eat a lot of those fruits and a lot of those vegetables. They're very nutrient dense, but not calorie dense. So there's not a lot of calories in it. We want to try to make sure that we stop eating when we're about 70% full. This will help us to maintain that goal weight that we want to be at, our healthy weight that we want to be at. You might think about eating your smaller meals in the beginning of the day rather than later in the day, in the afternoon and evening. We want to eat mostly plant-based beans, eat meat rarely for our protein, drink alcohol in moderation. And think about having 2 to 3 cups of coffee per day. Now, coffee is always under a lot of scrutiny, but there's one study that shows that participants who drank up to 4 cups of coffee per day had longer telomeres and reduced oxidative stress. So a thing to think about this is we want to make sure that we're getting these nutrients from our diet, because research does not support taking antioxidants in a supplement form to increase longevity. In fact, there's some research that show that it may actually decrease our longevity. So try to get the majority of your nutrients from your diet and use supplements only to enhance the nutrient intake. So bottom line is, what are we looking to do? How does this all affect you in the bottom line? We want to make small changes. We want to make sure that we're adding fruit or vegetable into each of our meals. Try to substitute fish or chicken in for red meat. Build on your changes successfully each day, each week, and grow and make some changes. Don't try to do it all at once. You've been eating a certain way your whole life, and it's going to be very difficult to change that way, all these different ways all at one time. So pick one thing that you want to try to accomplish that, and move on. Maybe just make sure you get all your vegetables in each day, and to make it all your fruits in each day and things like that. So there's some ideas for you. You want to try to stay away from insulin resistance, inflammation, and oxidative stress. Those are real important because those things will shorten the telomeres, and telomeres have been shown to be part of age-related diseases and possibly shorten our lifespan. So that's all we got for you today. I appreciate you watching. Look for us again next Tuesday with more insight on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. Thanks for watching.